Hello, everybody. This is Mark again, and this is current events as related to Bible prophecy. I did another short video um, prior to this one, but this is kind of a follow-up on that because we have new breaking news, which seems to be lining up, and you'll see how it works out. But this is breaking Israeli news, the latest news in biblical perspective. This is off of the internet. You can search this thing out. And once I do the video, I'll put a link so you could actually see it for yourself. Um, Kuwaiti media, Obama to seek UN security generalship. Okay, get a load of this. Al Jareed, an Arabic language Kuwaiti magazine, published an article on Friday claiming that U.S. President Barack Obama has set his sights on becoming the next Secretary General of the United Nations when he leaves the Oval Office in 1 year. If true, if he succeeds in this endeavor, Obama would be replacing the present Secretary General, South Korea's Ban Ki-moon, who is serving his second 5-year term in the position. So these are 5-year terms. So if Obama takes that place, he's going to be in that position for 5 years. Now imagine what Israel thinks, Benjamin Netanyahu, about this. Since all these recent things that have happened and the poor Israeli American uh, political thing has been going on for quite a while. You have Obama snubbing Netanyahu and allowing Iran to get a nuclear bomb. Netanyahu's been trying to be politically correct and try to be as clever as he can in his speaking about it. He's been saying that, this is surely what we don't want. We don't want Iran to have a nuclear bomb. And we as Americans should have shared interest in that because they view Israel as little Satan and they view America as great Satan. Okay, so if they threaten Israel, then they also threaten us. That's what Netanyahu's whole viewpoint is, and I couldn't agree more. Okay, so let me see. Ban's term, that's the current UN Security General leader there, term as Secretary General is set to end December 31st, 2016. Coincidentally, 20 days before Obama's second term as president ends. Al Jareeda attributed the rumor to the informed sources. So they have informed sources that they claim or have inside information, and this is what this article is based on. Okay, and this is outside of the mainstream media influence, and so this is a significant bit of information. The article also claimed that upon hearing of President Obama's plans, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to counter his campaign. That's what he was quoted as saying. They quoted Netanyahu as saying, 8 years of Obama judgments and marginalizing Israel was not enough question. So he was quoted saying that. Now he wants to be in a position to cause us trouble in the international forum question. Now, what has been going on? You know that they've been trying to pressure Israel to sign the two-state solution, Palestinian state. On my page, there's a good video, a military expert and an expert in this field. He describes and explains what a Palestinian state will do to Israel, okay, and how that will jeopardize them and cause them to be forced into an indefensible position. Guys should view that. That's very significant so you can understand how and why Israel and Netanyahu would not want to have this happen. Nobody would that lives in, or if you're, it would be a lot like allowing terrorists to rocket attack New York City or LA, okay, and say, oh, that's okay, we'll just let them do it. Okay, so that's about a comparison that you can think about. Jazeera was credited with the starting of a wildfire of rumors in the international press when it printed a story in March, quoting an Israeli source, that Obama halted an airstrike by Israel against targets in Iran by threatening to shoot down the Israeli bombers. That's how much Obama wants to allow Iran to get a nuclear bomb. He's willing to threaten Netanyahu to shoot his planes down if they try to stop Iran. And get a load of that. You see, so where is his alliance? Where is he really aligned? He's aligned into the Muslim Caliphate. You know, he is a sympathizer of the Muslims. Okay, and these are jihadists. These are radical, fanatical jihadists. Okay, and he's basically has the philosophy of the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, and that explains a lot why what is going on here in America with the Constitution and him operating as a king. Okay, and you could do research on that. You'll find many, many, many articles, much proof, much documented proof that he seems to be operating like a king. He wants to do executive orders without the approval of Congress, and this pattern continues. Okay, and he wants Syrian refugees to be allowed into this country, which we can see what happens in what has happened in Europe. A lot of these refugees are Muslim fanatics, not all of them, but a lot of them are, and they go into cities, and there's huge crowds of these people, and they terrorize the whole darn town. You know, they kill people, they rape women, you know, and they're screaming jihad. Okay, so this is the danger. Now, we can't check these people's past because there's no actual record of where they come from, and there's no file to see who these people are. We can get their names. They can tell us their names. We have no knowledge of what their background is, what crimes they've committed, what groups they're a part of. There's no record of that. So to allow a bunch of Syrian refugees into this country is basically opening the door to terrorism in this country. You see? But that shouldn't be a surprise. If you see a pattern that's going on with Obama, you know, how he's been acting like a king, how he's a Quran sympathizer, you know, Sharia law loving Muslim, really, you know, then it's not too hard to see the consistency of this going on and on and on. All right. And this is why I believe he's the Antichrist. I think he's the seventh head king of America, and he becomes the eighth. And that's the significance of what this video is about. And that's what I'm going to talk about later. Okay. The story was picked up by media around the world, but was quelled when the White House denied there was any basis to the story. See, so this was known, you know, in other countries and outside of America more so than it was known in America. And this is when I first found out about it. It's been real recent. And that first video I did, I shared my beliefs that Barack Obama is the Antichrist. He's the seventh head king and will become the eighth king Muslim Caliphate. Okay. And what's interesting, I didn't know that he was pursuing a UN position, you know, at the UN general position, you know, to be there and to force Israel to continue to have even a greater effect than he has now to pressure Israel to the two-state solution. Now, read Daniel 9:27. The Antichrist makes an agreement with the many for 7 years. Okay, that's what one of the things, primary things that Antichrist does. He's also a lawless one. He's a tyrant. He operates as a king. He's proud, haughty. He's got a really hard look about his face and stern look, okay? And all these things. He's been showing us all the characteristics of the Antichrist to talk about in the book of Daniel, okay, and elsewhere in Scripture. You know, we have quite a bit of information about that. But let me finish this article up. And let me see where we at. The truth may never be known for sure. However, it was later revealed that Israel breached Iranian airspace at a certain time what was thought to be a dry run for an attack against their nuclear facilities. Both stories printed by Kuwaiti magazine seems incredible for quoting high-level Israeli sources. These Kuwaiti, since Kuwait does not have formal ties with Israel. So both stories printed by the Kuwaiti magazine seem incredible for quoting high-level Israeli sources. And it does. It seems pretty incredible. But, we know that it's not going to be broadcast who this guy is early in his political career, and we know that he's openly and plainly revealed when he goes in and sets up the abomination of desolation. And if we know that he signs a peace agreement with the many, this is what Netanyahu is fearing. Basically, he's going to try to force Netanyahu and Israel to sign the Palestinian state, solution. And that's what they've been trying to promote. And you can also do some research on how Europe is pro letting Syrian refugees infiltrate into their area. Okay? Obama feels the same way about that. Okay? So who knows? I mean, if he becomes the head of the U.S. or the United Nations Security Council, General Assembly, then we know that this is it's lining up. Scripture's lining up, and it's being revealed more and more and more. He's more likely to be the one, the Antichrist. And that's the point in all this. And if you read Revelation chapter 17, John has a vision, and he wonders about the vision. He doesn't understand what the symbolic meaning of the vision is. The angel says, "Why do you wonder? I'll explain to you the meaning of all these symbols." Okay? And he tells him that, let me see, in verse 7, "But the angel said to me, 'Why do you wonder? I will explain to you the secret symbolic meaning of the mystery of the woman, as well as the beast having the 7 heads and the 10 horns that carries her.'" Verse 8, "The beast that you saw once was, but now is no more, and he is going to come up out of the abyss, the bottomless pit, and proceed and go into perdition." That's the Antichrist, okay? And the inhabitants of the earth whose names have not been recorded in the book of life from the foundation of the world will be astonished when they look at the beast, because he once was, but now is no more, and he is yet to come. This calls for a mind to consider that is packed with wisdom and intelligence. It is something for a particular mode of thinking and judging of thoughts, feelings, and purposes. The 7 heads are 7 hills upon which the woman is sitting. I'm reading the Amplified Version. If you read the King James, that word hills is mountains. It's more accurately translated as mountains, okay? And there's a study about that alone, okay? And I can document that later, but anybody has any questions. "And they are also 7 kings, 5 who have fallen, 1 still exists and is reigning, and the other, the 7th, has not yet appeared, and when he does arrive, he must stay but a brief time. And as for the beast that once was, but now is no more, he himself is the 8th ruler, king, head, but he is of the 7 and belongs to them, and he goes to perdition." That speaks of the Antichrist. And here it's revealed that this beast is the 8th ruler, okay, but he's also the 7th and of the 7, okay? So he's the 7th king head of America and the 8th king head of the United Nations, okay? So I didn't know it was going to pan out like this, but this is very revealing. It could work out like this. We don't know yet, but we're going to see how it does, because in time these things will become more evident, and it will, if you're on the right track, things will continue to happen as Scripture says, and it'll be revealed as it happens, step by step. This is why Christ says it's you should keep an watch on your walk in your life, in your priorities, and also on the signs and events before he returns. Okay, so that's the significance of this. "And the 10 horns that you observed are 10 ruler kings who have have yet received no royal dominion, but together they are to receive power and authority as rulers for a single hour along with the beast. That's the Antichrist, and these 10 horns are going to be in union together, and it's going to establish this new world order, one world government, and that's when things really start to get tough, okay? And so, because that's for that last hour. These have one common policy, opinion, and purpose, and they deliver their power and authority to the beast, the horns. So the horns are going to be in a complete agreement with this Antichrist, which could turn out to be Obama, and they're going to surrender their power and authority to him. Okay? They will wage war against the Lamb, and the Lamb will triumph over them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those who are with him and on his side are chosen and called, elected, and loyal and faithful followers. Now read Revelation chapter 19. Okay, that's what I believe that this is talking about, this event that these horns are going to wage war against the Lamb, but the Lamb's going to have the victory, So read Revelation chapter 11 when Christ returns, the rider on the white horse, and what happens there from that point down. Read that and see if that does not fit what this is saying right here in verse 14 of Revelation 17. And the angel further said to me, the waters that you observed where the harlot is seated are races, multitudes, nations, and dialects and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will be the very ones to hate the harlot. So the beast hates the harlot, America. If you know, America is the great harlot of Revelation 17 and the judgment in 18, then this is more revealing. You have a key piece of evidence that makes all this fit. So the horns themselves and the beast, Antichrist, are going to have something in common. They're going to hate the great harlot. Okay? And they will be the very ones to hate the harlot, the idolatrous woman, and they will make her cheerless, bereaved, desolate, and they will strip her and eat up her flesh and utterly consume her with fire. That's the fire judgment that happens at the end. Now, this is God reveals in verse 17, for God has put it into their hearts to carry out his own purpose by acting in harmony and surrendering their royal power and authority to the beast. This is God's will. Okay, so we have to understand that God has sovereignty. Okay, and if it's written, it's going to come to pass. And we that study his word have to be informed of that. We got to know what God is doing, right? Until the prophetic words, intentions, and promises of God shall be fulfilled. So there it is. And the woman that you saw is herself the great city which dominates and controls the rulers and leaders of the earth. Okay, so that mega city, great city, is New York City, where the harlot sits, which is symbolic of the Statue of Liberty, which represents this new revived ancient Babylonian Ishtar worship, okay, and what it really means and what it means to the people. Okay, there's other videos that I have that you can check those out, and it talks about who is the woman of Revelation 17, and those will reveal more parts of about all that depth in Richard A. Combs' work, and all I do is present it. I have the CD-ROM, and so it's not my studies solely. It's really based on his, but I've cross-referenced his work, and I've studied it for many years now, and you can see things are lining up, and this is what's really mind-boggling. And so the great city is basically the woman, and the woman where she sits is this revived, and what's written on her head is the ancient Babylonian temple worship of Ishtar worship that's been revived in this country. It's a goddess of liberty, a goddess of religious freedom, a goddess of immigrants, a goddess of sexual revolution and perversion and all sorts of things that are just abominable, to God. And that's what the Statue of Liberty represents to us now. And what's ironic is that's exactly what the ancient goddess Ishtar represented to the people back in ancient Babylon, and they found the royal records, ancient cuneiform royal tablets of the royal records of Babylon, and Zachariah Stitchin and a group of other people deciphered those and translated the language. So now they know what that religion really was. So it is mind-blowing stuff, but this is the power and the reality of God's prophetic word. And this is just an update. And I believe that if Barack Obama, if he really is truly the Antichrist, I believe that he fits the bill. It'll continue to go on. This will continue to line up. It'll eventually lead to more information, more revelation of how this is going to play out. But it will continue to go on, and he will end up taking control somehow and get the peace agreement with the many signed, and also set up the abomination. Armed forces of his shall enter and set up the abomination that cause desolation. And that would be the Muslim nations and stuff when they invade and basically take over, or their forces and allies. It could be Muslims / China, Russia, UN forces, who knows. But this is just an update, and God bless everybody. I just wanted to share that with you, so you shall not be deceived by any of these things, and so we can keep a heads up and be motivated to share the gospel with everyone. And time is short, and we don't have a lot of time left, but the Lord is coming, and that's the silver lining behind the clouds of tribulation and trouble. So God bless, and see everybody later. Goodbye.